Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. This is another episode of FPS, and today we're going to find out whether the Canon 70D can still hold up in today's standard. Let's get straight into the intro. Of late, I've been using a whole bunch of different cameras, and I purposely got myself the 70D because it's got to a point where I was lacking a camera to film. I didn't have any choice and my budget was very low. In that case, I had to look for the cheapest camera, and that is when I got my hands on the 70D. This camera has been in the market for quite some time now. I mean, there is a whole bunch of cameras. It all started from the 40Ds, the 50Ds, the 60D, then got to the 70D, and so far there's still 3 more cameras ahead of this one, which is the 80D and the 90D. So this camera has been around, and honestly, with my time of using this, I've really come to enjoy the camera, especially when it comes to this type of videos, vlogs, and minor photography work. The Canon 70D does 20 megapixel. Well, it's 20.2 megapixel, but effectively you're going to get 20 megapixel out of this camera. Another thing is it's got the digit 5 processor, so it's not the newest. It's quite a bit outdated, since now we do have the digit X processors and all that in the Canon the R3s and all the mirrorless cameras in the market right now. It also shoots videos. In case you want to know, it does shoot videos. So this camera shoots both photos and videos, and with regards to the videos, that is where some people might have some issues with, because this camera was released in 2013, and I mean, to 2013 in today's standard, it's a bit outdated, but I think this camera can still hold up in today's standard, and here is why. It does 1080p, that is the full HD. It does not shoot 4K by any means. I'm going to read out a few codecs that it's got on the camera. So right out of the box, you can get Full HD, that is the 1920 at all eye, and that is 30 frame. And you can also get Full HD at another 30 frame, but that is going to be the IPB codec. And you also get the Full HD at 24 frames, which is all eye as well. And you also get the same one, which is IBP. Heading straight to slow-mo, you're going to get 12 by 80. That is the 60 frames mode, and that is also all eye. But 12 by 80 is where the problem is, because this particular one is not 1080p, it's not Full HD, it's actually 720, which I mean, in today's standard, a lot of people do not shoot this. It's kind of old for today's standard. So the slow-mo on this camera might be a bit of a problem because it's not up to today's standard, but only few people can notice, especially if you are doing work for social media or just minor work for yourself. But if you want to use it for professional work, I think it might struggle somehow. So that is when this camera comes into questioning, because the video codec, it's really not bad, but at the same time it's not the best. So this camera also got some great, amazing features that even most of the cameras in today's standard still lack. And yes, that is it. And this implementation has been around, and Canon has been doing this for quite some time now. So this is the fully articulating screen, which is quite nice, especially if you want to do vlogs or personal videos, YouTube videos like what I'm currently doing right now. So this is very handy, and yeah, it's suitable for vlogging. It also does have autofocus, continuous autofocus. I've used it in majority of my videos. It has played a lot of roles in my, if you guys can scroll through, I mean, most of the videos that I've been shooting of late, it was shot on this camera. Most of my vlogs were shot on this camera, and I can see it's really handled most of my footages very well, except for some time that I went on a field and it started struggling in terms of the focus. In terms of low light capabilities, it goes all the way from 100 ISO all the way to 12,800, and you can still extend it to how do you call it, 25,600, which is not the best out there, because when it comes to this type of videos, I've used, I mean, this camera for this scenario, and I see that it's tend to struggle a lot, especially if you don't have much lighting in the room. And that is simply because it's a crop sensor body, so obviously you should know what to expect. This is not a full frame by any means. So that is what actually pushed me to upgrade to a full frame camera, which you are currently seeing or viewing me on. And it also has 19-point autofocus system, which I also mentioned. The autofocus is there. it does the job, but it's not the best. And overall, if I'm to compare the 70D to the 60D, I would say the 70D got the edge here because this does have a better autofocus than the 60D, which is a fact. I'm not going to compare it to the 80D because obviously it's a bit ahead of this in terms of the year model and a bit of improvement when it comes to the features. It does use a single SD. This is not dual SD by any means, and this is for a fact that Canon has been starving their consumers for a while. Yes, Canon cameras, most of them way back never used to have the dual SD card, especially for the random DSLRs. I think when it comes to the pro levels like the 1DX, the 5Ds, I don't even think the 5D uses the dual SD. I'm not quite sure about that, but Canon, I don't know what's the issue, but they find it difficult to implement two SD card, except the new cameras these days. I've seen they've started adapting that feature. Like the Canon R7 does have a dual SD card, so I pretty much like the new implementation. But if you are getting this camera having the assumption that you're going to use dual SD card on it, I'm sorry, but yes, you only have to use a single memory card on this camera. It's not, I mean, the best camera in the market. It's not the most improved or amazing cinema camera by any means. This is a DSLR, it's a crop sensor body. It's been in the market for a while, 2013, that's quite some time now. The person that I'll recommend this camera for will have to be someone who is new, a hobbyist, someone who is starting up a new YouTube channel if you are new in the game, if you want to vlog, if you want to do a shorts, I mean small movie for yourself, something for social media. I really think this camera can do a pretty job at it. But if you want to extend your work to professional use or something extreme, that might be a bit of a problem because of the lack of Codex, the lack of dual SD card, the autofocus, which is not really as good as today's standard, and a few problems that you might experience along the line, like the sensor, which is a crop sensor as well. The grip, I pretty much like the grip. Well, maybe that's because I have a small hands. If you do pair it with a battery grip, you're going to get some amazing grip of this camera. It uses the random EF lenses. They are everywhere and they are very cheap. So yeah, that's another advantage. It's not an RF, so anywhere you go, you look in the market, EF, EFS, you can still use them on this camera, whether full frame or crop sensor, it will still work on this camera. I know most of the cameras from Canon way back did not have this. It's quite useful because you can see a lot of information that sometimes you do not have the time to even view the screen, to view those type of information. Something like the battery percentage, you'll be able to see it here. Another feature that I like on this camera is the switch button here. So on this camera, you do have the option to switch whether you want to take photos or videos. So they have two customized buttons between photos and video. Unlike some of the Canon cameras back then, they don't have this button. You just have to press the recording button, it records, or you have to just press on the shutter for photo. They do not have any difference when it comes to the photo side or the video side. It also got some custom modes where you can customize a few of your profiles, and yeah, it does the job, but once again, do not expect something extremely off, I mean, the market. It does not have any picture profile, so what most people do use on this camera, I mean, you guys do know of Technics Sinister also. So it does not have any C-Log. So once you get your hands on either of these cameras, I think all the way from the 30D, 40D, 50D, 60D, 70D, 80D, even 90D does not have any picture profile. So it's either you use the standard picture profile or you download the Technics Sinister, which is going to give you a little bit of a flat edge for you to do a bit of grading on. So you should also bear that in mind. When it comes to inputs, like I said, this camera is, I don't know, is this a mid-range or probably, no, this can be a mid-range. Well, whatever it is listed in the comment section, let me know your thoughts. So it does have a microphone jack. It also has, is it the flash, how do you call it? I'm not sure what this port is about. It also has an HDMI. It's not the full HDMI size. This is the standard one, the micro HDMI. The price is extremely cheap, I mean, this is 2013, so with the release of new systems every now and then, this also tends to go down. And surprisingly, you guys can pick one of this camera on eBay for an amount of, I think the cheapest I saw is about $250. Do you know what you guys can even get with a $250? $250 cannot even get you this lens. I think $250 can get you a 50mm STM lens. Yeah, that's what you can get. So $250 for a camera. I mean, and I can see there's even another one here. It's range around $250 all the way until, let's say, $500. I think you can pick one of this up. Overall, it's an amazing camera. It's a good camera. It does the job as long as you know what you are getting the camera for. If you're into photography, I would suggest it, especially for people who are doing random gigs. If you want to do professional extreme work, I would say maybe you should upgrade to the 90D instead of this one. If you want to do videography, I will say yes to it. If you want to do YouTube videos like what I'm currently doing, if you want to vlog with this camera, it's also a perfect choice. But just bear in mind that sometimes the lens, the lens selection might also affect the autofocus of this camera. So lenses like the 50mm STM, they do work perfectly when it comes to focusing. But if you are using some of the older lenses like this one, it might cause a bit of a problem and the autofocus might tend to act up a little bit. Overall, it's a camera. It does work as long as you know, how to deal with it, like I said. So if you have any questions based on this Canon 70D listed in the comment section, I'm more than willing to answer all your questions. Let me know what camera to review next. Let me know what camera you would like me to touch on the next one. And I guess I'll see you in another video.